You didn't believe she was dead?
For a long time. I just refused to accept that she was gone.
For decades, the world believed they knew the truth about Princess Diana's tragic death. A terrible car accident in Paris, caused by a drunk driver and pursuing paparazzi. The people's princess, taken too soon in a senseless tragedy. But now, a shocking revelation has turned that narrative upside down, leaving the British royal family and the entire world reeling. What could possibly be more devastating than the original tragedy? The truth behind what really happened that fateful night in Paris is more unimaginable than anyone could have suspected. The shocking revelation. On a rainy Tuesday morning in London, crowds gathered outside the Old Bailey, Britain's central criminal court, as rumors swirled about a secret trial that had been conducted behind closed doors. Security was unprecedented, with armed officers creating a perimeter around the building and all electronic devices banned from the proceedings. When the Lord Chief Justice emerged to address the waiting press, his face was ashen. "Today, I must deliver news of such gravity that it will forever alter our understanding of recent British history," he began, his voice wavering slightly. "Following a trial conducted with the highest security protocols, evidence has been presented that has led to the conviction of a member of the royal family in connection with the death of Diana, Princess of Wales." The crowd fell silent as the impossible words hung in the air. The justice continued. "Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, has been found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder in the death of his mother. The sentence is life imprisonment without possibility of parole." The world stood still. How could this possibly be true? Diana's youngest son, who had been just 12 years old when she died, convicted of orchestrating her murder. It defied comprehension. The evidence uncovered. As details emerged in the following days, the story became even more bizarre and disturbing. The case had begun unraveling 3 years earlier, when a former MI6 agent, terminally ill with pancreatic cancer, had come forward with a deathbed confession. He claimed to have knowledge of a long-term operation that had been hidden from all but the highest levels of British intelligence. According to recently declassified documents, the agent had provided investigators with encrypted files that contained surveillance recordings, financial transactions, and communication logs dating back to 1997. Most disturbing were a series of coded messages allegedly sent from a young Harry to unknown operatives in Paris in the weeks before Diana's death. Forensic accountants had traced a series of complex financial transactions through offshore accounts that appeared to link the young prince to payments made to several individuals who were in Paris the night Diana died. Computer experts testified that the encryption used in these communications matched protocols that would have only been known to someone with access to royal security briefings. Perhaps most damning was newly enhanced security footage from the Ritz Hotel in Paris that appeared to show Harry, disguised and wearing a prosthetic facial feature, meeting with Henri Paul, the driver who would later crash the car carrying Diana and Dodi Fayed. Facial recognition experts testified with 99.7% certainty that despite the disguise, the individual was Harry. The impossible timeline. But how could a 12-year-old boy possibly have orchestrated such a complex plot? This question dominated headlines worldwide as royal experts and criminal psychologists attempted to make sense of the conviction. The prosecution's case, portions of which were now being leaked to the press, presented a timeline that seemed impossible. They alleged that Harry, far from being the traumatized child the world had sympathized with, had been a calculating prodigy who harbored deep resentment toward his mother for her relationship with Dodi Fayed and her increasingly independent stance from the royal family. Psychologists brought in by the prosecution painted a picture of a disturbed child who, despite his youth, had access to resources and connections that most adults could never imagine. They claimed he had been diagnosed with a rare condition that accelerated cognitive development while dampening emotional and moral reasoning, essentially creating a child with the intellectual capabilities of an adult, but without fully developed empathy. The defense had vehemently rejected this characterization, bringing their own experts who testified that such a psychological profile was pure fiction, and that the prosecution's timeline was physically impossible. They pointed out that Harry had been at Balmoral Castle in Scotland with his father and brother when Diana died, a fact confirmed by numerous royal staff and security personnel. The royal family's response. As the details of the conviction became public, Buckingham Palace remained in lockdown. King Charles III, Harry's father, had reportedly collapsed upon hearing the verdict and was under medical supervision. Prince William, now heir to the throne, had cancelled all public appearances indefinitely. After 3 days of silence, the palace finally issued a brief statement. The royal family acknowledges the verdict delivered by the court. This is a time of profound shock and grief as we attempt to understand these disturbing allegations. We ask for privacy as we process these events and determine appropriate next steps. No further statements will be made at this time. The statement was notable for what it didn't say. There was no defense of Harry, no questioning of the verdict, no expression of support for the convicted prince. This omission led to immediate speculation that the royal family had prior knowledge of the investigation, or perhaps even believed in Harry's guilt. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, who had been in California with the couple's children during the secret trial, was reportedly under protection at an undisclosed location. Sources close to her claimed she was utterly devastated and in complete disbelief, having had no knowledge of the trial until the verdict was announced. Public disbelief and conspiracy theories. The public reaction worldwide was one of stunned disbelief, followed quickly by skepticism. How could such a massive conspiracy have remained hidden for decades? How could a child have orchestrated such a complex plot? And why would Harry have wanted his beloved mother dead? Social media exploded with conspiracy theories, many suggesting that Harry was being framed, perhaps by elements within the royal family or British intelligence, who feared what might be revealed in his upcoming memoir. Others pointed to his recent estrangement from the royal family as potential motivation for a coordinated attack on his character and freedom. Supporters gathered outside Kensington Palace with signs reading "Free Harry" and "Truth for Diana." In the United States, where Harry had relocated in recent years, political figures called for international oversight of the case, questioning Britain's judicial process and the secrecy surrounding the trial. Prominent legal experts expressed grave concerns about the conviction. A secret trial, with evidence never subjected to public scrutiny, resulting in a verdict that defies logical timeline analysis. These are hallmarks of a judicial travesty, not justice, remarked one Harvard law professor. The confession that changed everything. Just as public opinion was coalescing around the belief that Harry had been framed, the case took another stunning turn. 1 week after the verdict was announced, Harry requested a television interview from his holding cell at an undisclosed maximum security facility. In a broadcast that would become the most watched television event in history, Harry appeared on screen looking haggard but composed. What followed was a 40-minute monologue that left viewers worldwide speechless. "The truth about my mother's death has been hidden for too long," he began. "While I maintain my innocence regarding the specific charges, there are aspects of that night that the world deserves to know." He then proceeded to outline a narrative so complex and disturbing that it challenged everything the public thought they knew about the royal family. He claimed that while he had not orchestrated his mother's death, he had discovered evidence years later suggesting involvement by other members of the royal family and British intelligence. According to Harry, his recent estrangement from royal duties and move to America had been motivated not by personal preference, but by his discovery of this evidence. "I couldn't continue to represent an institution that I believed was complicit in my mother's death," he stated. Most shocking was his assertion that he had been willing to accept conviction to protect his children. "There are forces at work that have made it clear to me that my children would be in danger if I revealed what I know," he said, his voice breaking. "This conviction, while based on fabricated evidence, serves their purpose of discrediting me while allowing me to protect those I love by maintaining certain secrets." He concluded with words that sent chills through viewers. "I say goodbye to freedom, knowing that someday the full truth will emerge. Until then, I accept this sentence as the price for my children's safety." The aftermath and unanswered questions. In the days following Harry's televised statement, the case became even more convoluted. Legal experts questioned how a defendant who maintained his innocence could be convicted in a fair trial. Intelligence analysts debated whether Harry's claims about threats to his children were credible or a desperate attempt to rationalize a legitimate conviction. The royal family remained silent, neither confirming nor denying Harry's implications of their involvement in Diana's death. This silence only fueled further speculation, with public opinion increasingly turning against the monarchy as questions mounted. Parliament convened an emergency session to discuss the constitutional implications of a convicted murderer in the line of succession, though far down the list. Legal scholars debated whether the conviction could be challenged in international courts, given the extraordinary nature of the secret trial. Meanwhile, Harry was transferred to an undisclosed prison facility, reportedly under constant surveillance to prevent any possibility of self-harm. Visitors were strictly prohibited, with even his legal team having limited access. The evidence disappears. 3 months after Harry's conviction, another shocking development occurred. The Ministry of Justice announced that the evidence used to convict Harry had been stolen during a sophisticated breach of government security systems. All digital records, including the enhanced security footage from the Ritz Hotel and the financial transaction records, had been completely wiped from government servers. The physical evidence, including original documents provided by the MI6 whistleblower, had disappeared from a supposedly impenetrable evidence vault. With the evidence gone, legal experts suggested that Harry's conviction should be overturned or at least reconsidered. However, the Lord Chief Justice issued a statement indicating that the verdict would stand, as the evidence had been duly considered by the court before its disappearance. This extraordinary series of events only deepened public skepticism about the case. If the evidence was compelling enough to convict a royal prince of matricide, how could it have been so poorly protected? Was the theft a convenient way to prevent further scrutiny of potentially fabricated evidence? A nation divided. A family destroyed. As months passed, Britain found itself deeply divided. Polls showed that approximately half the population believed Harry was innocent and had been framed, while others accepted his guilt but questioned the circumstances surrounding his confession. A smaller percentage believed in his complete guilt and felt justice had been served for Diana. The monarchy's popularity plummeted to historic lows. King Charles, already advanced in age, appeared increasingly frail in his rare public appearances. There were whispers in political circles about the viability of the monarchy itself, with Republican sentiment growing stronger than at any time in modern British history. Prince William, now effectively the face of the monarchy's future, found himself in an impossible position, unable to defend his brother without potentially implicating his family in Diana's death, yet viewed with suspicion by a public that wondered about his own knowledge of the truth. Meghan and the children remained in the United States under tight security. Sources reported that all communication with Harry was monitored, with their children unable to have private conversations with their father. The documentary that shook the world. 1 year after Harry's conviction, a documentary was released simultaneously in multiple countries to avoid British legal injunctions. Titled The Prince's Tragedy, it featured interviews with former royal security personnel, intelligence officers, and forensic experts who systematically dismantled the timeline of the prosecution's case. Most compelling was testimony from Harry's former protection officers, who provided irrefutable evidence that he had been continuously under their supervision at Balmoral during the critical periods when he was allegedly in Paris. They risked prosecution themselves by revealing classified duty logs and security protocols that had previously been withheld from the defense. The documentary also introduced a facial recognition expert who demonstrated that the technology used to identify Harry in the Paris footage had been manipulated. Using the original algorithm rather than the modified version presented in court, the expert showed that the individual in the footage bore only a 23% similarity to Harry, far below the threshold for identification. Perhaps most damning was an interview with a former MI6 operations director who suggested that the entire case against Harry had been manufactured to prevent him from revealing what he had discovered about Diana's death. When a prince threatens to expose state secrets, conventional methods of silencing him are impossible, the intelligence veteran noted. Character assassination and false imprisonment become the only options. The final goodbye. 2 years into Harry's sentence, as legal challenges to his conviction gained momentum and public pressure for a retrial mounted, another shocking announcement came from the prison authorities. Prince Harry had been found dead in his cell, apparently by suicide. According to the brief official statement, he had left a note reading simply, "The truth dies with me. Keep them safe." No autopsy results were released, and his body was quickly cremated before independent examination could be arranged. Meghan released a statement questioning the suicide ruling and demanding an international investigation, but her voice was largely drowned out by the wave of memorials and retrospectives that followed Harry's death. The narrative quickly shifted from questions about his conviction to reflections on his troubled life. In a final twist that seemed to confirm the darkest suspicions, all pending legal challenges to Harry's conviction were administratively closed within days of his death. The judge who had been reviewing the appeal request recused himself without explanation and subsequently left the country. The legacy of doubt. Today, years after these extraordinary events, the truth about Princess Diana's death and her son's conviction remains obscured. The official record states that Harry was guilty of conspiring in his mother's murder and later took his own life in prison. But millions around the world remain convinced that this narrative conceals a far more disturbing reality. Annual vigils are held outside Buckingham Palace on the anniversary of both Diana's and Harry's deaths. Conspiracy theories continue to flourish, books and documentaries regularly revisit the case, and justice for Harry remains a rallying cry for those who believe in his innocence. The monarchy has never fully recovered from the scandal. While it continues to function, its mystique and public support have been permanently damaged. King Charles passed away not long after his son, with many attributing his decline to the stress of these events. William now reigns as a king forever shadowed by questions about his brother's fate and his own knowledge of the truth. Meghan and the children remain in America, where they live under assumed names, rarely seen in public. On the anniversary of Harry's death each year, an anonymous donor places lilies, Diana's favorite flower, on a bench in a London park with a card that reads simply, "The truth never dies. Only goodbye for now, not forever." For a public that once mourned a princess, then watched her sons grow up under the weight of that tragedy, the story's final chapter seems cruelly fitting. More questions than answers, more shadows than light, and a family destroyed by secrets that may never be fully revealed.
You've been on his private plane.
Yes.
You've been to stay on his private island.
Yes.
Chaos erupts within the British royal family as Prince Andrew, Prince William, and Prince Harry unite in an unprecedented legal showdown against King Charles. At the heart of this explosive feud lies a mysterious, long-hidden letter from Princess Diana, containing secrets that could shake the monarchy to its core. With the Supreme Court now involved, the battle threatens to expose untold truths and redefine the future of the British crown forever. King Charles, the monarch and the father. King Charles has spent nearly his entire life in the public eye, first as the Prince of Wales and now as the reigning monarch. But for all the royal engagements and ceremonial duties he's juggled, another big challenge has always been his role as a father. Charles's relationship with Prince William and Prince Harry has been shaped by tradition, public expectations, and the pressures of being next in line to the throne for so many years. As a father, Charles has sometimes been described as distant, though some insiders insist he tried his best, given the unusual environment his sons were raised in. Both William and Harry spent their childhoods under constant media attention, making a normal family life nearly impossible. As they got older, Charles needed to prepare William to one day inherit the crown, which meant possibly spending more time with William on future plans or official training. Harry, meanwhile, has pointed out in interviews and in his memoir, Spare, that he often felt like he came second to royal duty. This kind of criticism gives a glimpse into how hard it must have been for Charles to juggle fatherhood and duty. It's not just Charles as a dad that draws attention. He's also a brother. While there were always whispers about a certain rivalry between him and Prince Andrew, nothing was ever openly confirmed. In their younger years, Andrew seemed to relish a more carefree lifestyle, while Charles was tied to the idea that someday he would be king. Today, as monarch, Charles has had to deal with Andrew's controversies head-on. He's made decisions, such as limiting Andrew's involvement in public events, that reflect a need to protect the royal family's reputation. These moves can seem harsh, but they also reveal the heavy weight Charles now carries as the figurehead. When it comes to leadership, Charles's approach seems to mix tradition with a cautious openness to change. On the one hand, he's recognized for championing environmental causes for decades, long before it became mainstream. On the other, when it comes to family matters, he often seems to retain an old-fashioned reserve. While he might prefer to keep personal issues private, the modern media landscape has made that nearly impossible. People want to know how he really feels about Harry relocating to another country, or Andrew stepping away from public life in disgrace. Still, being king demands that Charles think about the monarchy's future above all else, which can conflict with personal connections. He must put the institution first, a dilemma that can strain his relationships. William appears cooperative, probably because he's aware he'll inherit that same responsibility. Harry's decision to walk away suggests he felt too constrained by it. Meanwhile, Andrew's troubles have forced Charles to act decisively to uphold public respect for the crown. Prince Andrew, the disgraced royal prince. Andrew was once seen as an energetic and sociable member of the royal family. Whether at fancy galas or charity events, he appeared comfortable and outgoing, carving out a public image as someone who enjoyed the perks and responsibilities of royal life. But that image took a massive hit due to his controversial links to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Andrew is often called a disgraced royal, a figure who stays mostly out of view while dealing with the fallout of past decisions. Andrew was born into a life of privilege as Queen Elizabeth II's second son. In that sense, he was the spare of his generation, a term sometimes used to describe a royal who isn't directly in line for the throne. This gave him more freedom than King Charles, who had to follow a strict path as the heir. Andrew's early years saw him serve in the Royal Navy, and he was even dubbed the party prince in the tabloids, partly because of his social circle and international travels. For a while, that easygoing image worked in his favor. However, once news broke about Andrew's friendship with Epstein, everything changed. Allegations and lawsuits arose, shining a not-so-flattering light on Andrew's personal judgment. The situation reached a tipping point when the prince gave a TV interview to clear his name. Instead, it made the public even more doubtful, leading to calls for him to step back from his royal duties. King Charles, concerned for the monarchy's reputation, supported a decision to limit Andrew's official roles. By the time Charles ascended to the throne, Andrew was already sidelined, effectively removed from the broader royal spotlight. Behind palace doors, Andrew's relationship with Charles has likely been strained by these events. Some say Andrew never felt fully supported by his older brother, even before the scandals. While there might have been sibling rivalry over the years, it's turned more serious now that Andrew is seen as a liability. Charles, as the reigning monarch, has no choice but to protect the crown's image, which means keeping Andrew at arm's length. Prince William and Prince Harry don't seem close to Andrew either. William, ready to step into bigger responsibilities, likely wants to dodge any scandals that reflect badly on the monarchy. Their interactions, if any, are probably very formal now. Harry, on the other hand, stepped away from royal life for his own reasons, and it doesn't appear that he's embraced Andrew in any significant way. So Andrew, once a fixture in royal photographs, has slipped into the background, rarely seen at public events, and often omitted from discussions about the monarchy's future. Prince William, the dutiful heir. Prince William is often praised as the dependable face of a modern monarchy. From the time he was a boy, the world has watched him grow up. He's seen triumphs, like his wedding to Catherine, Princess of Wales, and tragedies, including the loss of his mother, Princess Diana. Through it all, William has been groomed to take the throne after King Charles, meaning his every move is viewed through the lens of a future monarch. Being the heir shapes William's day-to-day life and how he relates to other family members. He carries himself with the seriousness expected of someone who will eventually wear the crown. This mindset sets him apart from Prince Harry, who famously sought more freedom away from royal duties. William, on the other hand, tends to follow the established script, attending official engagements, focusing on charitable causes, and supporting his father's reign. In public, he projects calm and stability, traits that make him popular with many Brits. Still, William's bond with King Charles isn't without its stresses. They share a common goal of protecting the monarchy, but they might not always see eye to eye on how to handle family issues. For instance, dealing with Prince Andrew's controversies or Harry's revelations can stir up strong opinions. Some watchers say William plays a key role behind the scenes, encouraging Charles to be firm in order to maintain the monarchy's image. In this sense, William acts as both a supportive son and a partner in guarding the crown. Of course, one of the most talked about aspects of William's life is his complicated relationship with Prince Harry. They used to be seen as inseparable, the two young royals who helped each other cope after Diana's passing. But recent events, like Harry stepping down from senior royal duties and moving to the United States, have put a lot of distance between them. Add in Meghan Markle's presence, bringing in her own experiences, media attention, and viewpoints. And it becomes clear that William and Harry inhabit very different worlds now. Harry has vented frustrations about palace life and family dynamics, while William has mostly stayed quiet, which some see as proof of a significant divide. When it comes to Prince Andrew, William has taken a hard line. He wants the focus on essential royal duties and forward-looking efforts. Scandals like Andrew's can pull the monarchy backward, damaging its public image. William is well aware that one day he'll have to keep the institution strong, so he has supported the decision to limit Andrew's public roles. This stance shows how William is mindful of public opinion and the long-term health of the monarchy. Prince Harry, the rebel royal prince. Harry has long been known as the Spare, a label often used for royals who aren't first in line for the throne. Growing up, he saw his older brother, Prince William, groomed for the role of future king, while he enjoyed slightly more freedom. He was viewed as fun-loving and less burdened by rigid expectations. That spare tag may have shaped Harry's personality, making him more open to new experiences and quicker to step away from palace traditions. Over the years, Harry's relationship with his father, King Charles, has become a focal point of public interest. In his memoir, Spare, Harry talks about feeling overlooked or not fully understood. He refers to certain moments when he wished Charles had been more supportive or involved on a personal level, rather than focused on the weight of royal duty. At times, Harry's words paint a picture of a father-son bond that might still be mended, but only if both sides put in serious effort. While some see the tension as permanent, others believe reconciliation could happen if they find common ground and keep it away from the media spotlight. Harry's biggest falling out, however, seems to be with William. Once a tight pair, the two princes shared a special connection after losing their mother, Diana. But as adults, their paths split sharply. Harry recounts feeling that his interests and personal concerns didn't matter in the grand scheme of royal life, while William shouldered a huge sense of responsibility as the heir. The arrival of Meghan Markle introduced another layer of change. Harry felt a need to protect Meghan from what he viewed as unfair treatment, while William and others in the family may have seen the press coverage simply as part of royal life. The result was a deeper rift that Harry has publicly acknowledged in interviews, saying he's sad about the distance between them. What about Prince Andrew? Technically, Harry and Andrew have both been labeled spares at different points in history. Does that give them a bond? If so, it doesn't show up much in public. Andrew's scandal has forced the royal family to keep him on the sidelines. Harry hasn't openly aligned himself with Andrew, suggesting that rather than bonding them, Andrew's troubles may have nudged Harry even further away from the traditional royal fold. After all, Harry left on his own terms, not because of scandal, but because he felt the system itself no longer worked for him. William and Harry, brothers divided. Prince William and Prince Harry once seemed inseparable. After losing their mother, Diana, at a young age, the two brothers leaned on each other. They attended events together, joked around in interviews, and looked like a tight team, trying to manage the pain of growing up in the public eye. For a while, many people saw them as a heartbeat of the royal family, fresh, relatable, and united in their shared experiences. Over time, though, cracks began to show. Some say the first hints of tension sprung up around the time William got married. Harry, for years, was the fun younger brother, but he started feeling like a bit of a third wheel as William's focus shifted to building his own family life. Things escalated further when Harry met Meghan Markle. Her entry into royal life brought a whirlwind of press coverage. While some praised her modern style, others fiercely criticized her or questioned her motives. Harry felt protective, But William advised caution, wanting Harry to slow down and think about the challenges of such a high-profile union. When Harry stepped back from his royal duties, affectionately dubbed Meg-Sit by the media, the divide became obvious. The two brothers hardly appeared together, and rumors of heated arguments surfaced. Harry's public remarks about the institution being stiff and unwelcoming clashed with William's sense of duty. William, as the next in line after King Charles, focused on upholding the crown's image, while Harry wanted personal freedom and a simpler life. Their differences in approach turned into a full-blown separation. Both physically, Harry moved abroad, and emotionally. Is reconciliation possible? Some observers believe time heals all wounds. They point out that the brothers still share deep memories of Diana and a love for charity work she inspired in them. If they can reconnect on those grounds, they might find a path back to brotherly respect. Others think the damage runs deeper because Harry has been open about feeling unsupported, while William might view Harry's criticism as a personal betrayal. It might take years, major apologies, or even more changes within the monarchy before they find solid forgiveness. Public perception of William and Harry is equally split. Many in the UK see William as the dutiful heir, carefully preparing for future kingship. He's seen as reliable, steady, and respectful of tradition. Harry, on the other hand, often seems like the opposite. Outspoken, willing to criticize family norms, and determined to carve out his own destiny. Some applaud Harry for bravely speaking his truth, while others think airing the family's dirty laundry is harmful and unfair to those left behind. In the end, the story of William and Harry is a complicated blend of shared trauma, differing responsibilities, and personal choices. For spectators, it's a real-life drama unfolding in front of cameras and tabloids. For the monarchy, it's a thorny issue that raises questions about how younger generations can adapt, or clash with, an institution steeped in tradition. Whether they can rediscover their old bond is anyone's guess, but their journey is sure to remain in the spotlight for years to come. Charles and Andrew, at odds. As children of Queen Elizabeth II, King Charles and Prince Andrew grew up in a family that ran on tradition and duty. But they didn't share the same role. Charles was the heir, carrying the weight of future kingship, while Andrew was free to define his own path as the second brother. Some watchers believe this set the stage for a quiet rivalry that simmered for decades, even if it rarely made headlines. In their younger years, Andrew enjoyed a more relaxed image. He served in the Royal Navy, went on playful excursions, and was labeled the party prince by some tabloids. Charles, meanwhile, was constantly reminded that he would inherit the crown. The difference in responsibilities may have led to tension. Charles had to be careful with appearances and public statements, while Andrew didn't face the same level of scrutiny, at least not until later. Those who have observed the family suggest Andrew may have felt overshadowed and sometimes sought ways to stand out. The real problems arose when Andrew became linked to controversies, especially the scandal involving Jeffrey Epstein. This put the monarchy in a tight spot because the public expected some form of accountability. Charles, who eventually took the throne, found himself in the uncomfortable position of balancing brotherly ties and royal duty. As king, Charles can't ignore negative public opinion, especially if it involves allegations that harm the monarchy's image. So, Andrew was sidelined, stripped of many titles and public roles. Some insiders say Charles didn't relish doing this, but saw no other way to protect the crown's reputation. Under Charles's leadership, Andrew's role slid into a state of uncertainty. While Charles hasn't outright disowned his brother, he has made it clear that Andrew won't be part of the monarchy's main operations. It's a practical choice. Many people feel Andrew's presence could do more harm than good at official events. The question remains whether Charles has any plan to rehabilitate Andrew's image over time, or if he believes it's best to keep his brother out of the spotlight for good. Rumors swirl about private family discussions, but nothing concrete has emerged to show an effort to pull Andrew back into the fold. This situation points to a bigger issue. How does a royal family handle internal scandals when the modern world demands accountability? For Charles, the line between sibling solidarity and institutional duty has become blurred. He can't risk the monarchy's reputation by openly defending Andrew, but also can't erase him from the family tree. The result is a careful, if strained, relationship that reveals the human side of royal life. They may have grown up with the same parents and traditions, but their roles diverged long ago, and those differences only grew when Andrew's controversies came to light. Diana's legacy. In family relationships, Princess Diana was more than just the mother of William and Harry. She was a global icon. Even decades after her tragic death, her influence remains a powerful force in the royal family's story. She brought a sense of warmth and openness the monarchy wasn't used to, shaping how many people view William and Harry today. From her charity work to her candid way of speaking, Diana left an unforgettable mark on her sons, which has continued to shape their decisions and relationships. Diana's biggest impact is seen in how William and Harry carry on her sense of empathy. Both men often mention their mother when discussing charitable causes, mental health, and the importance of being accessible to the public. In some ways, this has led them to approach royal life differently than older generations. For William, it means combining tradition with a more down-to-earth vibe, like his mother once did. For Harry, it sparked a strong need to protect his own family from the same media intrusiveness Diana endured. One can't help but wonder how things might have turned out if Diana were still alive. She may have acted as a mediator, healing rifts before they got too big. Some suggest she would have supported Harry's desire for a more private life, while also encouraging William to understand his brother's perspective. Without Diana, the brothers lost a unifying figure who could bridge the gap between them and, perhaps, cushion their differing needs. It's impossible to know for sure, but the what-if looms over their strained relationship. Diana's legacy also touches King Charles in a complicated way. Their marriage was famously troubled, and many people still link Charles to Diana's heartbreak. Even as king, Charles faces a public that continues to adore Diana. Sometimes this perfect memory of her overshadows how people view him now. While Charles is keen on modernizing the monarchy and focusing on his own priorities, he can't fully escape comparisons to the people's princess. Anytime conflict arises with his sons, some spectators recall Diana's past struggles and wonder if history is repeating itself in a different form. The public's perception also factors in. Diana was charismatic, and her warmth drew people in. William and Harry each carry a piece of that into their public roles. But the lasting memory of Diana also reminds folks of the difficulties she faced, from media harassment to personal stress inside the palace. As Harry has aired his grievances, many fans of Diana see him as following in her footsteps, calling out what he views as an unkind system. Others believe Diana would have urged him to remain within the fold, finding a gentler way to handle disagreements. In the end, Diana serves as a guiding light and a complicated legacy for this royal family. Her influence is clear in how William and Harry approach their roles and in how the people view Charles's leadership. Though she's gone, her spirit continues to shape family ties, providing both comfort and a reminder of unresolved issues. Everyone in the family seems to keep a piece of Diana with them, whether they focus on her compassion or the lessons learned from her struggles. Her memory remains a key part of the conversation, reminding us that the human side of royalty can leave the biggest impact of all. The Queen's effect. On the family, Queen Elizabeth II led the British monarchy for over 70 years, a remarkable record that gave her a steady hand in dealing with countless family challenges. Throughout her reign, she maintained a strict sense of duty. She rarely showed open conflict when it came to personal matters, preferring to keep any tensions behind palace doors. Many believe her calm and consistent approach helped hold the family together during times that could have escalated into more public drama. Her influence was visible in how she guided her children and grandchildren. She had a knack for balancing tradition with small steps toward modernity, such as allowing television cameras behind the scenes at certain royal events. When crises occurred, like divorces, scandals, or disagreements, she often leaned on the old royal strategy of never complain, never explain. In many cases, it seemed to work. The public tended to see her as above everyday squabbles, which helped preserve a sense of stability for the monarchy. Now that the Queen has passed away, there's a sense of a vacuum at the top. King Charles has assumed the throne, but he doesn't command the same level of long-earned trust his mother did. Her death may have opened the door for underlying family issues to pop up more openly. With her steady presence gone, disagreements that once seemed manageable, like the tensions surrounding Prince Andrew's scandals or Prince Harry's departure, feel more raw and harder to contain. Some people wonder if she favored certain family members over others. Rumors have floated around that Prince Andrew was particularly close to her, possibly leading him to expect more leniency when his personal life attracted controversy. In contrast, Prince Harry has hinted that he wished for more direct intervention from the Queen when he and Meghan felt mistreated. The Queen herself never confirmed if she had favorites. Several royal observers argue that her level-headed stance allowed her to treat all family members with composure, even if they occasionally felt they weren't getting enough personal attention. Still, family dynamics can be complicated. While the Queen projected unflappable composure, each relative had a different kind of bond with her. Charles knew her as both mother and reigning monarch, balancing affection with formality. Andrew seemed to rely on her for emotional support when public criticism grew loud. William grew up aware he was a future king and formed a special connection with his grandmother, seeing her as a mentor. Harry often described her with great warmth, even as he broke away from the royal fold. Everyone had their own story when it came to the Queen. Without the Queen's quiet guidance, it's fair to assume the four central royals, Charles, Andrew, William, and Harry, have lost a central figure who could smooth over conflicts. In the Queen's absence, each must figure out how to handle issues that now fall fully on their shoulders. It remains to be seen if they can preserve the unity she worked so hard to maintain, or if the loss of her calming presence will continue to widen the cracks already showing in the family's foundation. As personal grudges, public scandals, and generational divides continue to shape the royal family, the question remains, can they find common ground, or is this the beginning of a permanent fracture? The answer will depend on how open they are to change, compromise, and a willingness to leave old wounds behind. Whether they succeed or not will likely define the monarchy's role in a world that moves faster than ever. And for these royals, it's not just about saving face, it's about preserving a family unit that carries centuries of history, all while trying to stay relevant for generations yet to come.